So it's going to be your character and proposition you're defending.
Okay, let me see which character I have. I'll use like White Cheeky.
I'll just choose Kratos.
Oh, Kratos? Okay.
Yeah.
So you wanna start first or do I go first?
You can go first.
Okay. Okay, so basically, my character is like above all descriptions, like any description given to her is like something below her.
Give me a second. Now my siblings are coming out. Can you just send the fucking chat real quick?
But
There's fucking screaming in my background. Can you send it into the text so I can read? The screaming is fucking knocking me off focus.
oh, you want me to send it in text or what?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
So do you agree the description is contingent upon an idea or concept?
What?
Do you agree a
Description.
description? Do you agree a description is going to be contingent upon an idea or concept?
I don't really think a description is like limited by something like an idea or a concept. I think ideas and concepts are as well like limited by descriptions. Like you can describe an idea as well.
Applying the law of identity. So, basically, since Boy Shiki is literally just equivalent to herself within this identical sense to each other, she would have a description. Since she's above all descriptions, she would be above herself, but somehow that's not logical because you cannot transcend your own identity.
Wait,
This would
I
lead
didn't
to an
hear you.
illogical conclusion.
Wait, I didn't hear you. What are you arguing right now?
Dude, are you having problems or something?
No, I don't have hearing problems. It's just like your mic is like hard to hear. That's like it. Can you like reload your argument again so I can understand?
So basically, since idea could be described, you said which CG is above all description, right? So basically, within the law of identity, something is identical to itself. So therefore, via the law of identity, it would be identical to itself. It would have a description, right? And since Wojcicki is equal to herself, she cannot also be above that description of her own idea being described. So it would be illogical to assume that she would be above all descriptions because she has a description of her own, which would be the identity. That would be illogical, and therefore her existence is negated via the fact that she basically cancels out the law of identity.
Okay, so you're arguing she's like limited by descriptions in the law of identity. Is that right? Okay, so
Give me a
okay.
fucking second. These fucking kids. Okay, so basically what I was arguing is the fact that you said she's above all descriptions. Instead, she has an identity, which the law of identity states that you're basically equivalent to yourself or have an identical set of yourself. Basically, she has a description within that set of identical equivalents. So therefore, since she has a description, she would be bounded by her own description and own idea, which can be described as her identity. So therefore, she is bounded by a description and not above all.
So basically, the Shiki that has like descriptions like the second one that's like just a lower manifestation, and so anything that's applied to it, like an identity or something like that, does not really apply to the nameless higher form, the descriptionless Shiki.
So you're saying an identity cannot apply to a higher form?
Does an identity apply to something that's like above an identity? That's like
Cannot be
above
above it.
identity,
You
the source
cannot
of
be above a
identity.
logical. You cannot be above a logical principle like identity. You're always going to be equivalent or identical to yourself. If she's above that set identical law, or rather the law of logic right there, that's going to be illogical since she cannot transcend her own identity or self. She wouldn't even exist by that. She would be negated.
So like I'm not arguing. Okay, so let me make myself clear. So basically, you're saying that she can't be above a principle or like a logical identity, but like I don't believe that's the case. Since an identity and like a logical principle still also has descriptions, and even if you try to say that that's impossible, well, that wouldn't really apply since my character isn't really limited by logical principles.
So you're just saying she's illogical?
I'm not saying she's illogical, because illogicality is also a
Okay, wait, wait,
description.
wait, 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 wait. You just said that she isn't bounded by any logical principle, and that's a description in itself. If she isn't bounded by that, she's gonna be in the case with
Okay,
still an
my
idea.
argument is she's
Isn't
above all
okay?
descriptions. If you give her
Her
a
own,
description, she's
her
above that.
own. She has an identity that is a description. What are you talking about? She has an identity. You can't be above the law of identity or like. You're just
I
implying that she
already
doesn't have
said
that. But
that.
since you're also describing Boichiki, that'd be like a contradiction to what you're saying. And I want you to justify why she would be above that logical
Okay,
principle.
so okay, let me make myself clear. I'm saying she doesn't have an identity because an identity also has a description, and any description given to her would be something below her. If I say
Okay,
she's above
so
logic,
like
then
then
say she's
then
illogical.
she wouldn't
If
even
say
exist.
she's
If you're
illogical,
applying,
she would be
wait, 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 wait,
illogical.
wait. If you're applying the fact that she doesn't have an identity, oh, describing her, by the way, that would be illogical. She wouldn't even
Oh
have
my
an
god, no. I
existence.
already
She
said
wouldn't
that
even exist.
description would also be below her.
What'd you say?
Existence and non-existence is also a description.
Okay, so basically she would still have a description under that. If you don't have an identity and you're non-existent, then you still have a description. What are you talking about? You said she's above all
I
descriptions.
already
That would
said if you say
no, no,
she's,
no, no, no. That would
she's a,
literally fall
okay,
under
okay, let me make
dialetheism.
myself
That's a
clear.
true
If
contradiction.
you
That
say
breaks the
she's above
laws. That
logic,
breaks logical
then
laws
you
like
would say
classical
she's
logic too.
illogical. But that's also a description. She is above illogicality. If you say then that she's above illogicality, she would also be above that. Any description given to her would be just something below her. Like, that's what I'm arguing for.
Okay, that's literally what I'm attacking. I'm literally attacking the argument.
What are
You're
you
literally
attacking?
arguing that she doesn't have a fucking identity. She wouldn't exist then. Like, what?
And I already said that existence and non-existence is also a description. It wouldn't apply to her.
Okay, so then since you're certain she's above all descriptions, then she's bounded by that same description you're describing. Like what? That falls under
Oh my
dialetheism.
god, well, I
That would be
already
a
said
true
she's above
contradiction.
that as well. Like, if you give her a
Okay, then I
description,
want
she's
you to
above it.
justify. Okay, so then justify why that is. Give a rational observation of why that would be the case.
Okay, so what do you want me to justify exactly?
Okay, so if she has a description of being non-existent to a literal logical law, that would still be a description of what the concept is. Since her conception literally has a description to it, that would be contradictory to the fact of her being above all descriptions. She would still be described by that. I want you to justify how it would not be the case based upon a rational observation from that. I want you to give some substance for that.
Okay, so basically the reason why she would be above all descriptions is because descriptions are like the form that's given to like everything. Like it's like a type of information. It's used in information like analysis. It's like you can describe anything as something. Something.
Also, just
But
that's describing her, giving information about that. You're giving information about why she would be above these set descriptions, even though that is a
how
description.
does that
That
give
would
any
be,
information about her? Like, okay,
you
okay.
literally just
If I
have a
tell you,
description about.
okay, let me talk. So basically, you're saying that she has a description because we're getting information about her, but like we aren't really getting any information about her. Like if I tell you there was something unknowable in a forest, what does that tell you about the unknowable thing in the forest? Like it doesn't tell you anything.
So if there's nothing there, why would you have a proposition? That would be basically contradictory to the description about her being above all descriptions. So if there's no there, then you wouldn't be defining anything. She wouldn't have any literal existence by that. Any by that. She wouldn't even be there. Your literal proposition would be there.
I already explained, and that the description of something
Explain,
and nothing
but you're
wouldn't
not.
apply
You're
to
not
her.
even making my point. You're not attacking my point.
Okay, what's your
I'm
point?
simply
What's your point?
accessing your points. You described it. I mean, you described it, but you're not justifying anything to, and I'm attacking your constant points you keep bringing up. But this is going circular, so
Okay, then let me explain. And so, like I was saying, ink a description is like it's like something that's given to like anything. And like every identity has its description and it's identical to itself. But there is always a source to an identity in a description, like there was something external to them. And like because it's external to them, it wouldn't be bound to them. And like you can't really describe the source of a description.
you can't really describe void cheeky. That's like literally fucking idiotic.
Void Shiki is just the manifestation. It's the lower manifestation, and it's not the
Okay,
actual
so if
thing.
she's just a manifestation, then that's literally a description, though. If she's beyond all descriptions, if she's a manifestation, that's a literal description about her existence of being a manifestation of that. That's going to be a contradiction from what you're saying, and it also falls under dialetheism.
Okay, so
That
you're
would be true contradiction to classical
okay, so you're
logical
saying
laws.
that it's a contradiction. You're saying it's a contradiction because we're describing Void Shiki as a manifestation, but I do not agree with that because like a
Well,
description
like, if
given
you
to
don't
a
agree with that, you'd be
manifestation.
still backtracking what you just said because you asserted that she's a manifestation of that said existence of that law. So
Well,
she's
I
still being
said I
described
don't
under
agree
that.
that. Well, I said I don't agree. It's a description to the higher thing. let me explain.
Okay.
I said
Okay, so if it's not a
that she's
description
a
to the thing, then
manifestation.
why should? Okay, so if it's not a description to the higher thing, then why would she have a manifestation then? If there's
I'm
no
just
description
using
being
those
able to
people.
give into the higher thing, she would have there obviously a description to the manifestation. But if there's no description to the actual thing, then she.
Okay, so basically, she's a manifestation. And descriptions given to the manifestation cannot be applied to the actual thing. And don't try to say that the actual thing doesn't exist, because existence and non-existence would also be just a description to it. Would also count as a description. That wouldn't count to it. That's basically what I'm saying. Okay, so got something to say. Okay, so I guess I'll just start explaining it, because I got nothing yesterday. All of it. But this is something of my cat brother. Okay, so you want to continue with this point, or
I'm back. Want to continue?
where did it go?
Sorry, my internet cut out for a second. It's being a bitch today. So,
Okay.
what was your
Okay, so like I was saying, I don't believe that like the actual thing would be limited by descriptions. And it's because a description given to like a low manifestation wouldn't really apply to the higher thing. Think. Like you can say it's like limited by logic, but that wouldn't apply to the actual thing. Because it's like the source of that like description.
as a source, manifestation is going to be contingent upon that. If that source has a manifestation that's going to be contingent upon the same thing, basically that source is giving a description and identity. So I agree on your point, saying
It's
that the
like
manifestation
creating the
will.
description.
Okay,
It's
yo,
like
yo, yo, wait. I
creating
wasn't
the
done.
identity.
I wasn't
That's
done. I
basically
wasn't
what's
done.
happening. Yeah.
I wasn't done.
Oh,
Let me
okay.
explain. Basically, what I was saying was that I do agree the manifestation would have a description, but if the source is giving that description, the source obviously has an outcome to have a description of itself because it's going into a manifestation of something, so it obviously exists. If something exists, it's going to have to be described by the law of identity too. Since it's going to be identical to itself, it has an existence set there.
Okay, so you're saying the manifestation, because of the law of identity, would be identical to the source. I don't really agree
Yes,
with that
because you also access that the manifestation is going to be the source itself. So if the source is going to
the
be the manifestation,
manifestation is
it would
not the source.
okay, so then what's going to be the source? If it's a higher thing, then that manifestation is still the same form, but just inside a lower thing. It's the same identity, but lower.
It's not really an idea. Okay, let me explain. So basically, there's like a source to something, is like the source of all descriptions. It can like create a description to its manifestation. Like that manifestation now has the description of a manifestation, but it's not really identical to the source. Why? Because the source does not have a description. Well, like the manifestation does have a description. They are not really identical to each other.
Okay,
They
so
are not.
what you're saying is that the source creates the set identity. So if that's the case, then is there's going to be an ontological connection where that source is going to be the contingent thing that the manifestation is on. So basically, there's going to be a nature that exists. In ontology, there's
Well,
basically the
not
study of being
really.
and nature. So
Okay,
because
okay.
that same thing exists within ontological connection and etc., its nature is going to have an
Descriptions
identity
in
as well,
ontology are
which basically like
ethically linked to each
forms
other.
it basically
So
like
the
forms
source.
the essential
Okay.
like thing that exists. So it has a description. Its nature has a description. Therefore, we can just be more likely the case in a prescriptive scenario. It has the necessities to have like identity, basically creating other things. So it's gonna be like, say for like example, an analogy would be God. A God has an identity equivalent to itself. So basically, God would be God, therefore creates creation, and creation is contingent upon that same God. So basically, we could also establish that basically the manifestation is still contingent upon that same source. Therefore, we could say the source is going to be the root of that manifestation and basically equal to it, since there can also be another identity that still connects with the same ontological value of something.
Okay. So this is your argument. I can like talk now.
Yes, yes, yes. My bad for cutting you off though, but like I was just trying
Okay.
to explain.
Okay.
I
So
didn't.
basically, what I was saying was that like descriptions on ontology are like in metaethics, like metaethics. It's like in metaethics, descriptions in ontology are like linked to each other. They are like connected to each other. So being the source of descriptions would mean that you are the source of like their existence, like their ontology as well. Well, so saying that there is an ontological connection between them wouldn't really make sense because the source is like also created like the ontological connection itself, the description of that thing, since
Yeah, like
ontology and descriptions are linked to each other,
okay,
like they're
so
the
there.
same thing
Okay,
in the
so
context of metaethics.
that still does make sense. By the way, like I want you to know why that wouldn't
Right?
make sense. Rationally justify that on an observation you just made. Like,
Okay,
why
so
wouldn't it
like
make
you are
sense? Because if it's still creating the ontological connection, it's still creating something that's contingent upon it inside that same nature. So
okay, so you're
it
saying
would still make sense that the same
creating
thing could be
something
contingent.
that's
That's
limited to it.
I
That's
wasn't done.
basically what
Like,
you're
yo,
saying.
chill, man. I wasn't done. Basically, what I was saying is
Okay.
that since it's still creating something, that same creation is going to be contingent upon that existence. It's basically creating the ontological connection itself. That's like saying God creates something, but if that's like saying like God creates something, then that same thing would be contingent upon God because it would be separate, even though it's been created by God. Therefore, there would be an established connection between the creation of that said thing and the same thing that created it from before. So basically, your existence would be valued upon that.
Okay, so like I'll give a long explanation now for why I think. Okay, so let me explain. And so basically, the reason why I don't think this would really work because like I said, descriptions are what like gives the existence of something. Like if an apple doesn't have a description, it would be non-existence. Yes, and this is like what I mean by like ontology and descriptions are linked to each other, because like a description gives the existence of something, and like you described the existence of an apple as like an apple. Apple, you describe it as an apple. Apple, that's basically what I'm saying. And like saying that a description is like contingent upon like the source. So basically, eh,
Wait, just let me stop you right there, real
like
quick.
I was saying. I think
You do
saying that
realize
like
that you
the
do realize that
non-existent.
earlier you said something recording that non-existent had a description by it because you're basically just asserting the law of identity right here. Non-existent is
Did I
equivalent to
assert?
itself.
Wait, did I
Therefore,
assert the law of identity?
it would be a
I'm
description by
asserting the
that.
law of
So
identity to
therefore,
like
by that, some
descriptions, not
non-existent still has a
existence.
description
I'm not
because it wouldn't
asserting it
exist.
to the
Therefore,
source.
that would have a description to it. If it's being described as
Okay.
being like non-existent, then that's still a description. Now your character would still be like bounded by
I
that same
never
description.
asserted
Then.
my character as non-existence. I never asserted
Okay,
that
you never
it's
asserted that, but I'm not
non-existence.
saying that you asserted that. I'm not positing that you said that.
You did
Like
say I
I'm saying,
asserted it.
no,
You're
I didn't. I never
contradicting
said that.
yourself.
I never said that. Like I want you to like
What?
prove how I said that. Like
You
real quick,
literally
prove how I
just
said
said
that.
that I asserted that.
No, I
You literally
didn't.
just said that.
Because if we just go by that same
Okay.
thing, I was positing that non-existent would have a description. I'm not saying that your character would be non-existent.
You
Earlier,
literally
because I
just
was going by the
tried
law of
to
identity,
imply
but
that
we
my
moved
character
on
is
from that point.
non-existent.
We moved on from that point though.
Maybe
When I was
you
saying that
literally
a law of
contradicting
identity
yourself.
being negated would be like no existent because that's like illogical to like go off on a rational basis.
Okay, so
But you
you're
also
saying
said
my character is
logicality would
non-existent.
be a description as well. And then like earlier, like I will say this then, you did say that non-existent would be a description. Therefore, your
Yeah, I
character can
did
be
say that.
bounded by a description. You did say this. We could go
I
back to
never
the
said
rec.
I never said my character is limited by
We could go
description.
back to the rec.
I
We
was
could go
just
back
giving
to the
an
rec.
explanation
We could go back to the
on
rec.
why my
You said
character
that. You said
wouldn't
that.
be limited by a description.
What'd
Like
you say?
I said, an apple would be. I was given an explanation on why my character wouldn't be limited by descriptions. Like I said that an apple would be non-existent without a description because descriptions in like ontology are linked to each other. I never asserted that on my character. I was just using an apple as an explanation for why
But then you also
descriptions
like
would
you were
not
just
be
describing the
part
law
of
of
my
identity.
character.
You were just describing the law of identity. Your character
The
would
law
be
of
described
identity
by
takes, I
having
said,
its
takes in
conception there.
existence to an apple. Like in my explanation, an apple has the identity of an apple. It's identical to itself. It's ontologically an apple. That's basically what I'm saying.
Yes. So
My
your character would
character would
still have
not.
an ontological nature
I,
via that. Because
I just
non-existent
stated
is
that above
literally still a
existence.
description. Your character would exist via that within nature of ontological things.
How would it be limited by ontology when it's literally the source of ontology?
And we could
Like
just say
you basically,
ontology would be contingent upon that, and being given that, we could just say that source would have identity
they
to
are
itself.
literally just saying that they are contingent. I don't know how to spell this. It's you're basically saying they are limited by it. Like you admit it's superior to them.
I
Like
wouldn't. I
ontology
didn't
is
agree with that.
coming
I
and
would.
it's
I said
limited by
contingent. I
the
didn't
source.
say it's limited by them. I said it's
Yeah,
contingent
boy, you
upon the
literally
said thing.
did. Uh,
What'd you say?
boy, you literally did say that. Like you keep backtracking.
I'm not backtracking. I want you to justify how I'm backtracking real quick. Like rationally, just justify that
Okay,
real
so
quick. Give
basically
substance for
you
that.
said
Like
that
give
it's
substance for
not.
that.
You basically said that like they are contingent. I don't know how to spell this. You basically said they're limited
Let me
by like the
pronounce this.
source, and then when I said you are basically saying that they are limited by it, you said that you didn't say that. You're basically just backtracking.
I never said they were limited. I said they were contingent. Contingent and limited
Yeah,
are
yeah.
two
That's
different
it.
things.
I don't know how to spell that. So basically, I'm just using limited in terms of that word.
Okay, but you never gave substance for that real quick. Give substance
I
for
did
this.
say
Because we could go off this scenario real quick and say it's more likely the case that I didn't say this because you're not giving a valuable source of substance. By the way, you never justified how I said
a
it, though.
source.
You're like, here's the thing: you're
Like
just
I will
asserting I said
literally
this,
record in
but you're
this.
not directly proving it. Like, if you don't justify and like give like a rational or empirical state of evidence for this, how can we say that I totally said this? By the way,
Nigga, this shit is literally being recorded. Like you said it like in
yeah,
the
it's
recording
being
right now.
recorded because I'm gonna upload it on my YouTube channel, bro. I'm literally smacking you around.
But Okay, so basically what you're saying, okay, so your last point was basically like that you're not backtracking. Like, that's basically the last
Yeah,
point you
I
made.
asked you to give some form of empirical justification for that or substance. You're just asserting something, so there's no like real
I
substance for that
asserted
and
that
justification
because
for
you
that.
literally did backtrack. Like,
Okay,
you're
you're
saying
still not
something,
giving any
and then you're
justification for
going
why.
back to work.
There's no justification except you just asserting this. There's no actual substance behind it. That's why I'm saying it's more likely the case. I didn't say this. But
Are
we
you
can also just
asking
go back
for
into
like
the rest of
visible
what is done.
proof, or like for me to make an explanation for why that's the case? Like, if you're asking for visible proof,
Give
then
a
no way,
form
bro.
of substance for it. Substance.
Okay, substance. Okay, so basically, you made the claim that they are like man, I don't know what to spell this word. You basically made the claim that they are like limited by the source, and then when I asked you if you're basically saying that you said that you aren't, which is like backtracking because you did say it. So you're like taking back your words, and you're like, I already did that a few times before.
You're not justifying how I said it. This is why versus how. I want you to give a justification and substance for how and when I said this.
Well, how am I supposed to
If you
prove that?
cannot, okay, so if you can't prove that, then we could just say it's
Like,
more
I
likely
can
the
take
case
a
I
screenshot
didn't.
or something. It's literally a word. How am I supposed to prove it?
Can't prove it. So basically, you ain't really giving a form of actual substance to act like this. So basically, you
I
just
mean,
ain't
I'm
proving it.
giving a good explanation, but like you keep saying that you need proof. Like, if you want proof, then like, how am I supposed to do that? Like, proof is like visible, like evidence. Like, how can I prove like that you said something by visible evidence? Like,
You know,
that's impossible.
I also asked for empirical observation of that claim. If you're not giving empirical justification or provide evidence
I did
of
give
that
an
empirical
explanation,
basis,
but you keep asking for proof.
yes, so you can't give that. I'm asking for substance. Substance can also equate to proof for that or
I
justification. There's
already
no
gave an
justification behind
explanation
it.
for why
So I
I
want you
think
to give
that's
a
the case.
rational motivation for that. You're not literally proving it. Like, what are you talking about? This
Well,
guy, man.
I'm literally just trying to explain it, but you keep asking for proof.
You're explaining, but you're not providing a form of substance. You're just asserting something without an actual form of substance
I'm
for the
just
said
giving my
assertion.
reasoning for why I think it's the
This is
case.
reasoning, but it's not rational observation. You're just giving explanation, but there's no substance to conclude reason for it. So it's more likely the case I didn't say this. Give a form of substance for it. If you cannot, just admit defeat on this point.
Fuck it, I give up. Fuck it, I give up. You win.
Gotta just end this now, or what?
Yeah, I give up. You win.
Alright. GG.
People.
GG, man. You good.
Okay.
You're better than some of these people I debate, so.